Let's take a look at the Minnesota schedule here in 2025. Here's that full schedule, and we're going to start by looking at the non-conference. So this year they're going to play Buffalo, Northwestern State, and on the road at Cal. Buffalo's a decent team out of the MAC. Northwestern State should be an easy win. And then Cal, they do have to go out west, and we saw last year many times when teams traveled across, multiple time zones, they struggled. So that could be a little bit of a tricky game there for Minnesota. Let's look at who they play home and away in the Big Ten. You see all the games here, but in the Big Ten, they'll play Rutgers, Purdue, Nebraska, Michigan State, and Wisconsin at home. Road schedule is at Ohio State, at Oregon, at Iowa, and at Northwestern. So you look at that home schedule and look at this full home schedule. Minnesota has a chance to potentially be a favorite in every single home game. They don't have any big games, really tough opponents at home. I would say Nebraska probably going to be their toughest opponent. But yeah, you got Rutgers, Purdue, two of the teams near the bottom. Michigan State, Wisconsin also near the bottom of the Big Ten last year. Nebraska, I think, is going to be better this year. I think that'll be a challenge for sure. But at home, maybe Minnesota's favored in that one. So a very, very favorable home schedule. Road schedule is a little bit tougher. Ohio State and Oregon, both on the road. Those will be, I would say, near impossible for Minnesota to win. Iowa also, I think, will be tough on the road. Northwestern, not too tough of a place to play. Cal, not very tough either. But again, we talked about the travel there, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, it's I could see very realistically Minnesota winning every home game and losing every road game. They could go 7-5 again, and that could be how it plays out. I don't think it'll play out that just exactly that way, but I think it could. I think it's possible. So let's get into the new and the old teams here in the Big Ten. So the teams that they removed from their schedule from last year: Illinois, Maryland, Michigan, Penn State, UCLA, and USC. The teams that they added: Michigan State, Nebraska, Northwestern, Ohio State, Oregon, and Purdue. So you like to drop Illinois, you like losing Michigan, you like losing Penn State, maybe even USC. Four pretty good teams that they're going to lose. And then they add, again, Ohio State and Oregon, brutal, but everyone else they add, very winnable games. So I would say it's a pretty even trade, I guess. Again, it's adding Ohio State and Oregon obviously is going to make it really, really tough when they only lose Penn State in terms of those elite teams from last season. But Illinois and Michigan figured to be pretty good this year. So I think it's a pretty even trade. Let's go game by game now and look at the schedule. So Buffalo, that's on Thursday night, August 28th. That's where they will open up the season. They play Northwestern State in week 2. That'll be September 6th at home. Then they go out west to Cal on September 13th. So there's no bye week before that game. They do get a bye week after that game. So travel, coming back home, that'll help out there. But I mean, yeah, having to go all the way to California, no bye week before, I think that game could be a little bit tricky. So they get that first bye week. They, again, have time to come home and get ready for Big Ten play. They'll play Rutgers on September 27th. Then it's on the road at Ohio State on October 4th. Obviously going to be a very tough one. Purdue on October 11th at home. Back-to-back home games with Purdue, and then Nebraska on the 18th. Then they'll play on the road at Iowa October 25th and home for Michigan State November 1st. So you look at that part of the schedule, 6 games in a row, no bye weeks in there. You do have 4 of those 6 games at home. That's the positive. Ohio State and Iowa will be tough places to play, though. But yeah, I think that's, take out Ohio State, and that's a very manageable stretch. Again, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State in Columbus, but the other games there, they're going to have a real shot. So, I mean, it's not too crazy to think that Minnesota could be sitting there, with 1 loss going into that second bye week, maybe 2 losses. Maybe they're still in that playoff conversation. Obviously, you want to only have 1 loss because you got Oregon on the road November 15th. That is going to be a very, very tough game. It's actually back-to-back road games because they're going to play at Oregon and then at Northwestern. Interesting that they play Northwestern and they play Northwestern State. Anyways, they'll play Wisconsin on November 29th to close things out. At home, they'll have a real shot to win that one. So again, outside of Ohio State and Oregon, I think Minnesota has a real legitimate chance to win every game on the schedule. Can they actually do that? Obviously, it's going to be tough, but if they do, if they go 10-2, I think there's a real good shot that this team is in the college football playoffs. So how does their schedule stack up with the other teams in the Big Ten? It is a little bit more on the favorable side. Their opponents for this year, well, last season they went 37-44, had a 46% win percentage. Again, that is one of the easier schedules in the Big Ten. And like I said, if you just go ahead and count Oregon and Ohio State as losses, they've got those games on the road. Those are elite teams. But then when you look at the rest of the schedule, those other 10 games, they've got a real shot to win the rest of them. So I think Minnesota's schedule does give them a chance to potentially be a dark horse team in 2025.